We often talk about love like it's something we find, like a hidden treasure or a rare accident. But the truth is, meaningful relationships aren't found, they're built. And the people who build the strongest, most fulfilling connections, they approach love with a very different mindset. High-value women don't date to fill a gap or to avoid being alone. They start with intention. They know why they want love, not just the surface-level stuff, but the deeper reason. Love for them isn't a rescue mission. It's a reflection of the life they're already proud to live. They understand that a partner doesn't complete them. A partner complements the life they've already created. They don't chase approval or settle for someone who can't meet them where they are. Instead of giving ultimatums, they set standards, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. They don't tolerate bare minimum effort, breadcrumb affection, or emotional inconsistency. If someone isn't willing to match their energy, their effort, and their integrity, they don't argue. They exit. And while they're strong, they're not hardened. They know that real strength is found in vulnerability. They're not afraid to feel, to care deeply, to love fully. But here's the difference. They don't use vulnerability as a way to earn someone's love. They use it as a way to express their own. They don't collapse into a relationship. They stay rooted in themselves while building a connection that's real. One of the biggest mistakes we make in dating is falling in love with potential. High-value women don't do that. They don't try to fix people. They don't treat partners like projects. They understand that love is not a rehabilitation center. They look at who someone is, not who they might become in 5 years if everything goes perfectly. They want partnership, not potential. And they're not afraid to wait for it. When it comes to communication, they don't hide behind games, silence, or manipulation. They speak up. They ask questions. They express needs without apology. They believe that clarity is kindness. If something matters, they bring it to the table early and honestly. Because if someone can't handle a real conversation, they're not ready for a real relationship. And at the core of it all, they carry themselves with a deep sense of self-worth. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that moves silently and confidently. They've done the inner work. They've built a life they love on their own. And that love shows up in every decision they make. They're not afraid to be alone because they're already at peace with themselves. And that's exactly why they attract better, love deeper, and walk away faster from anything that doesn't honor their value. They don't just hope for better relationships. They create them, starting with the relationship they have with themselves. They start with why, even in love. That's the difference. Most people jump into relationships searching for something external, comfort, validation, excitement, or even just an escape from loneliness. But those who truly thrive in love don't operate from a place of need. They begin with clarity. They begin with purpose. They begin with why. When a high-value woman considers entering a relationship, she's not asking, will this person like me? She's asking, does this connection align with the life I'm building? She understands that love isn't just about chemistry or compatibility. It's about direction. It's about two people walking in the same direction with similar values, shared vision, and mutual respect. She doesn't fall in love just to feel wanted. She doesn't entertain a relationship simply because she's tired of being single or afraid of being alone. There's a deeper intention behind her choices. Her why is rooted in growth, connection, and shared meaning. She knows that the right relationship won't just feel good, it will make her better. It will stretch her, challenge her, support her, and push her toward becoming the highest version of herself. And she'll do the same in return. When you know why you're pursuing love, you stop chasing people who don't fit. You stop wasting time trying to convince someone to choose you. You stop accepting half-hearted effort because you finally understand that your value isn't up for negotiation. High-value women date with purpose because their lives are already full. They don't need someone to complete them. They want someone to complement them. Someone who enhances what they've already built, not someone who defines it. And that clarity changes everything. It changes who you attract. It changes how you communicate. It changes what you tolerate. Suddenly, you're not impressed by surface-level attraction. You're not fooled by sweet talk or empty promises. You're not interested in someone who doesn't know what they want because you do. Starting with why gives you emotional discipline. It helps you move with intention, not impulse. It allows you to pause before diving in. It gives you the strength to say no to a good time if it means compromising your long-term peace. It teaches you to think ahead, not just about how a person makes you feel today, but how they'll fit into your life tomorrow. It's not about being overly logical or cold. It's about being awake, conscious, aware of what really matters to you. High-value women know that love isn't enough unless it's backed by purpose. Passion without direction burns out. Chemistry without alignment leads to chaos. A relationship without intention is just a distraction dressed up as romance. That's why they take the time to reflect on their values before they commit. They ask deeper questions. Not just, do I like them, but do they bring out the best in me? Do they respect who I am at my core? Can we build something that's meaningful and lasting? These questions don't scare them, they guide them, because clarity doesn't limit love, it protects it. And maybe the most powerful part of all is this. When a woman knows her why, she's not afraid to walk away. She doesn't stay in relationships that go nowhere. She doesn't cling to people who confuse her. Her purpose becomes the filter through which she sees everything. If it doesn't align, it's not for her. Not out of arrogance, but out of respect for her journey. So yes, they start with why, even in love. Because when you lead with purpose, love becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes a conscious choice. And that's the kind of love that lasts. They set standards, not ultimatums. That's the quiet power of a high-value woman. She doesn't scream to be heard. She doesn't manipulate to get her way. She doesn't issue threats in order to feel in control. Instead, she lives by a clear, unwavering code of self-respect. And that code becomes the standard by which she loves, connects, and commits. When you live with standards, you don't have to beg someone to treat you right. You don't have to remind someone how to love you. You don't feel the need to constantly explain what's wrong or plead for the bare minimum, because your standards do the talking. And more importantly, your actions back them up. High-value women don't demand loyalty, they embody it. They don't ask for honesty, they expect it because they give it. They don't throw ultimatums across the table when they feel disrespected. They simply remove themselves. There's no drama, no shouting, no emotional chess match, just clarity. They've made peace with who they are, and they know what they deserve, so if someone can't meet them at that level, they don't lower the bar. They move on. That's the distinction. Ultimatums are born from fear. Standards are rooted in self-worth. When someone gives an ultimatum, it usually sounds like desperation. If you don't change, I'm leaving. If you don't stop, we're done. It's not about growth. It's about control. And it really works long-term. Even if someone adjusts for a moment, the change isn't inspired, it's coerced. But standards invite someone to rise. They don't force behavior. They reflect boundaries. A high-value woman doesn't say, you have to treat me this way or else. She simply lives in a way that says, this is how I treat myself, and this is the kind of love I accept. It's not a demand, it's a declaration. And people either align with it or they don't. This kind of woman isn't cold or unapproachable. In fact, she's incredibly open. She's willing to love deeply, to commit fully, and to give generously, but never at the expense of her dignity. She doesn't see walking away as failure. She sees it as self-protection. She doesn't view silence as weakness. She sees it as strength when words are wasted. She's not afraid to be alone because she knows the wrong relationship costs more than solitude ever will. Her standards aren't just about how she's treated. They're about who she allows into her space. She's intentional about energy, about consistency, about emotional maturity. She doesn't fall for potential. She pays attention to patterns. She's not impressed by grand gestures if they're followed by chaos. She'd rather have steady, grounded effort than flashy promises with no follow-through. And here's the beautiful part. Her standards elevate everything. They make love safer, more stable, and more meaningful. Because when people meet her standards, it's not out of obligation. It's because they want to. They see her worth and feel inspired to match it. That's real love. Not love based on fear of loss, but on deep, mutual respect. Setting standards doesn't mean being rigid or unwilling to compromise. It means knowing the difference between compromise and self-betrayal. It means knowing your non-negotiables, your deal breakers, and honoring them even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So she doesn't give ultimatums. She doesn't threaten to leave if things don't go her way. She simply knows who she is, what she brings, and what she will and will not allow. And when you operate from that kind of clarity, you don't have to raise your voice. Your standards speak loud enough. They embrace vulnerability, not dependency. That distinction is one of the most powerful traits of a high-value woman. She understands that being open doesn't mean being weak, and that letting someone in doesn't mean losing herself in the process. Vulnerability, to her, is an act of courage. It's the willingness to be seen, to be honest, to risk connection without sacrificing her identity. She's not afraid to express her emotions. She's not afraid to say, I care about you, or that hurt me. She doesn't hide behind a mask of indifference to appear strong. Her strength lies in her authenticity. She knows it takes far more courage to say what you really feel than it does to pretend nothing affects you. But she also knows where vulnerability ends and dependency begins, and she never crosses that line. Dependency says, I need you to make me feel okay. Vulnerability says, I'm okay on my own, but I'm choosing to share this part of myself with you. That's the difference. One comes from a place of fear, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of not being enough on your own. The other comes from a place of power, the kind of power that's built from self-awareness and emotional security. A high-value woman doesn't make someone else responsible for her happiness, her peace, or her self-worth. She doesn't outsource her emotional stability. If she's hurting, she doesn't seek someone to rescue her. She gives herself space to feel, to process, and to heal. And if someone is there to support her, that's beautiful, but it's never a requirement for her recovery. In love, she's present. She gives fully, but she doesn't give herself away. She understands that intimacy is built on trust, and trust can only exist when both people are standing strong in who they are. She wants connection, not control. She wants closeness, not clinging. She doesn't demand constant reassurance to feel loved. Her security isn't found in how much attention she gets. It's found in the confidence she has in herself. This kind of vulnerability creates real intimacy. It creates the kind of relationship where both people feel safe to show up as they are. No masks, no manipulation, no pretending, just truth. And truth is the foundation of any relationship that lasts. Dependency, on the other hand, creates imbalance, it creates pressure. When love becomes the only source of your emotional survival, it's no longer love, it's survival. And survival breeds fear, jealousy, anxiety, and control. A high-value woman doesn't want a relationship that drains her. She wants one that energizes her. She wants a partner who chooses her, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. Her openness doesn't mean she's an open book to everyone. She's selective with her vulnerability. She doesn't spill her heart to those who haven't earned her trust. She knows that emotional intimacy is built, not rushed. She doesn't bond through wounds, she bonds through shared values, consistent effort, and emotional reciprocity. And perhaps most importantly, she doesn't fear being alone. She knows she can stand on her own. That's why she can offer love without attachment. She can give without keeping score. She can be vulnerable without losing her center. Because her identity isn't based on being in a relationship. It is based on who she is when no one's looking. So yes, she embraces vulnerability. She cries when she needs to. She expresses when she's moved. She loves deeply and she's not ashamed of that. But she never lets that love consume her. Because she knows love is not about losing yourself in another person. It's about finding someone who helps you become even more of who you already are. They choose partners, not projects. That single decision changes the entire trajectory of a woman's love life. High-value women understand that love is not rehabilitation. A relationship is not a rescue mission. And falling in love with someone's potential is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself while trying to fix someone else. They see people for who they are, not who they could be if everything changed, not who they might become if they just got the right motivation. They don't romanticize red flags. They don't excuse consistent disrespect with soft words like, he's just going through a lot. Or, I see something in him no one else sees. That's not love. That's self-deception. A high-value woman wants a partner, someone who is willing and able to meet her where she is. She's done the work on herself. She's healed, evolved, and grown. And she expects the same from anyone who wants to stand beside her. Not perfection, but progress. Not a flawless past, but an honest present. She's not looking to raise a man, she's looking to grow with one. When you see someone as a project, you take on the emotional labor of trying to change them. You carry their weight, you push their growth, you chase after their potential while neglecting your own needs. But real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself to fix someone else. Real love is two whole people choosing to build something stronger together. She understands that choosing a partner means choosing their habits, their mindset, their level of emotional intelligence. If a man lacks self-awareness, avoids accountability, or isn't willing to grow, he's not a project to be managed, he's simply not her person. She knows that trying to force growth in someone else is not love, it's control in disguise. This kind of woman values peace over potential. She values alignment over attraction. Chemistry is nice, but character is what holds everything together. She's not blinded by charm. She listens to how a man speaks when he's angry. She watches how he treats people when he wants nothing from them. She pays attention to patterns, not promises. Because she's not afraid to walk away. She doesn't settle. She's not tempted by the idea of being the woman who fixes him. She's not interested in being his emotional support system while he refuses to support himself. She believes in emotional responsibility, in mutual growth, in shared effort. She knows her worth. And because of that, she doesn't try to prove it by being a martyr for someone who won't meet her halfway. She doesn't confuse being needed with being loved. She doesn't seek validation through sacrifice. She doesn't hope that if she just loves him harder, he'll finally become the man she imagined. That kind of fantasy might look romantic in stories, but in real life, it's exhausting, and she's too wise to repeat those cycles. The partner she chooses is not perfect, but he is present. He is honest. He takes ownership of his life. He communicates. He listens. He tries. He doesn't rely on her to hold everything together. He stands beside her, not behind her. He's not intimidated by her strength. He respects it. He's not threatened by her standards. He's inspired by them. She chooses partnership because she knows that's where real love grows. In mutual effort, in shared responsibility, in honest connection, not forced potential. She's not here to build a man. She's here to build a life with someone who's already doing the work on himself. Because when you stop choosing projects and start choosing partners, you stop thriving in them. They communicate with clarity, not confusion. That's one of the most defining traits of a high-value woman. She doesn't hide behind silence. She doesn't play games. She doesn't drop hints and hope you'll read her mind. She values her peace too much to tolerate miscommunication, and she respects her time too much to waste it on emotional guessing games. When she speaks, she does so with intention. She says what she means, and she means what she says. Not to control or manipulate, but to be understood. Because to her, real connection starts with truth. If you have to decode her words or second guess her feelings, then something's already broken. She knows that honesty, while sometimes uncomfortable, is the foundation of anything worth building. She's not interested in performing for love. She's not afraid of looking too much or too emotional. She knows who she is and how she feels, and she's not afraid to express it. That doesn't make her aggressive or dramatic. It makes her emotionally intelligent. She doesn't expect you to be a mind reader. She'll tell you what she needs. She'll tell you when something isn't working, and she'll listen when you do the same. Confusion is often used as a tactic. Some people keep their intentions vague so they can avoid commitment. They say just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to give you clarity. High-value women don't operate that way. They bring the full truth to the table early and clearly. If they want a relationship, they'll say it. If they're feeling distant, they'll address it. If something feels off, they'll have the conversation. They don't believe in dragging things out just to avoid discomfort. If a situation isn't right, they confront it. Not with anger, but with calm confidence. Because they know the cost of avoiding hard conversations is always greater than the temporary discomfort of having them. This kind of clarity builds trust. When a woman communicates with consistency and directness, people know where they stand with her. There's no guessing, no false hope, no mixed signals. And because she offers that level of clarity, she expects it in return. She has no patience for emotional ambiguity or hot and cold behavior. If someone can't be direct with their words and honest with their intentions, she won't stick around. She doesn't weaponize silence. She doesn't punish people with emotional distance. If something's wrong, she'll talk about it. If she's hurt, she'll explain why. Not to blame, but to bring understanding. Her goal isn't to win an argument. It's to strengthen the connection. And when both people are committed to that level of communication, love stops being chaotic and starts being peaceful. That doesn't mean she's perfect at it. She's human. She feels deeply. Sometimes her words may come out messy or emotional. But even then, her intent is always clarity, never confusion. She's willing to apologize when she's wrong, and she's willing to listen when you need to speak. Because communication isn't just about talking, it's about understanding. And she's committed to building that kind of mutual understanding in every relationship she enters. In a world where so many are afraid to be honest, afraid to be the first one to say how they feel, she's different. She speaks up not because she needs attention, but because she knows that real love can't survive without real communication. So no, she doesn't text to get a reaction. She doesn't go silent to make a point. If someone else can't meet that level of care, presence, or respect, she doesn't try to convince them. She lets them go, not out of bitterness, but out of love. Love for herself. She knows that the way someone treats her is a reflection of how they see themselves, and she refuses to take responsibility for someone else's inability to love properly. She's not here to fix, to prove, or to compete. She's here to connect with people who value her, not just when she's giving, but when she's just being. Her confidence is not loud, it's not boastful, it's steady. It's in the way she says no without over-explaining, in the way she chooses solitude over chaos, in the way she walks away from almost halfway, or maybe. She is not desperate for attention. She is deliberate in her presence. And a certain kind of beauty that shines when you've made yourself a priority. That's the power of loving yourself first. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. So when she loves fully, but never at the cost of herself. She gives, but she never abandons her own needs. She's supportive, but never to the point of self-sacrifice. And if she finds herself in a space where she has to dim her light to be accepted, she doesn't try harder. She walks away. And she never looks back. Because when you love yourself first, everything else becomes clearer. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. You stop accepting love that feels like survival. And you start living in a way that attracts the kind of love that matches your own. Not because you need it, but because you're already full enough to receive it without fear.